Hello everyone, I'm Mellyza. In this video, I would like to re-speech the debate statement from NUDC as the opening opposition team with their motion. This House prefers a world where grief is perceived as a lifelong process one must go through as opposed to an emotional state that one day will subside. So in status quo, there's already a narrative of subsided, but people can still process it lifelong. But we, as the opposition team, recommend them to process this emotional state that one day will subside. We are going to prove that in the larger scale of society, it will be better on our side of the house. Before that, I'm going to respond to the OG's cases first. They say that this grief will be accumulative, but I think we have to characterize how humans process emotion. You cannot say that grief is accumulative because, for example, when you break octo or you break semifinal or other things, those will be accumulative because you will be happy and happier. So their claims that grief will be accumulative, that is untrue. And even if it won't be accumulative, it will be the same all the time in lifelong process. I will explain to you in my case why is this worse on their side. So it is morally correct to process it lifelong, it is to commemorate them. But we think that it already happens in the status quo, that people still commemorate people even if their emotional state subsided. Because they don't understand, even though this emotional state subsided, they will still remember. Because that is two different things, when you remember someone or you process a respect to the loss of someone. And then, let's come to my argument, how it will be better on our side of the house. First, the emotional state that one day will subside creates a narrative to people like, oh, one day it will pass. On our side, it will be more reachable with shorter time comparatively on their side that will be long term. And why is that important? Because if emotion is something accumulative and you don't process it in a shorter time or the correct amount of time, you won't be able to do things rationally. On their side, when it's more accumulative, then it will be harder on them because they will have more mental breakdowns or some other things. And those things are what actually undermines their benefits of self-evaluation from the loss of someone. So those things will actually manifest better on our side because when you can process this loss faster and you move on, you will be more likely to think rationally, like think about the good from people that you lose and you should internalize it to yourself. The other layer of this, human can always have a feeling that takes up most of our life. For example, like when you wake up in the morning feeling very bad, very stressful, it will lead to your entire day. We may consist that you will still feel good, but those feelings are still on our side. If you already have a determined feeling such as the feeling of that grief from the start of your day, this will be translated badly when you integrate it with your daily life. The most ideal scenario is when you think that, oh yeah, I'm going to process it today with just what is going on. Those things are what makes you a functional human being in the society. Because if you cannot function properly, of course, it will affect your social life. So that is the importance of moving on. So then it comes to my second argument, the practicalities of how people will cope with this. If they know that is something that will subside, it is more likely for them to just, yeah, I think I should do the process very big in the first time and not in a long time. And next, from the second speaker, one important characterization to set us apart from the opening government is the fact that they never characterize what is exactly goes into grieving in the very first place. Like the leader of the opposition said that grieving and remembering people are two different things. Grieving is the process of going through 5 stages: denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. They talk about grief, what makes people remember, but actually you can be out of your grieving for stages and still remember your loved ones in the very first place. Since you're remembering people from our side, you will remember the memories of that person without the overbearing sadness that happens with the grief. They say that self-evaluation happens because the grief is lifelong, but actually self-evaluation happens with the grief no matter how long it takes. And what does it looks like exactly to grieve someone? It looks like to exactly going through the 5 stages of that grief that I've already mentioned. This process is important because of the tangible outcome from it. When you grieve, you will have the hope to be eventually move on from that grief in the very first place. And this hope to move on will give us more hope to continue with our life. Being able to move on is so important when we're going through such a detrimental grief. I think that's all the debates restate from the opening opposition team. Thank you.